All right, welcome to the Khazoinksvo TALK SHOw. I'm here with
Okay pitching or Aokperson, whatever you prefer. You know,
Aokperson, and you are the leading member of.
the tiraia, kiasarica, and the Rick of ejznrosa.
So lovely, lovely. As a fellow island nation leader, what do you think is the
Island boy.
best thing about your nation?
Oh, I'd say it's our community. We're a very community-orientated duchy. We focus a big part of our time on events. Like recently, today, we had a VC that had about 7, 8 people, and we're having a great time, and we're just
Very
making
impressive.
money, doing stuff. So it's community that matters the most as an island. Because you might not always have the environment or the you know resources to make beautiful things. Obviously, we are exceptions to this, but it's community that matters the most,
I would
in my
have to
opinion.
agree with that. When I visited your land, the first thing I noticed was your lovely architecture, and that a baker had offered me a very, very tasty cake. It was very kind of them.
Oh yeah, the bakers are they're actually a religion within the duchy. They are the baker's dozen, and they worship. You know,
Could you tell me more about that?
so the baker's dozen. They are very much orientated about nature and the aspects of it. Like they worship Pastina. She's the goddess of Icon Talia, but like she's important. She's the head one. But like her, children, the baker's dozen. There's 12 of them. And a secret 13th one that I do not have the pleasure of telling you much about because you're the uninitiated. It's esoteric, one might say.
I understand. I
But
understand.
it's very nature orientated, and they're very focused on giving and contributing to the poor and the needy.
Yeah, I understand that a lot. My camera woman right there, actually, Leia Blue, she happens to be the up and coming leader of the religion around here, but it hasn't fully started yet. One of the main facets of it is giving food to those who need it. So, but would you have to tell me the worst thing about your nation? What problem do you have with your nation?
So in my duchy, I'd say we have very few problems. Obviously, the usual, bouts of inactivity, despite our great numbers, just incidents to do with, disagreements. But our larger nation, Einrosa, which is a brilliant nation, I might say, we have the luxury of having very understanding and very, great leaders who are very good friends of mine and, just great colleagues. But a problem with them is their cautiousness. They're quiet. They're sleeping giants. They don't like to cause any trouble, and that's a very good thing. I agree with that. I myself don't seek out conflict. It's been so long, and we've yet to make a move on anything, and that's the only thing. They're too cautious, but I love them for despite their problems, they're still great people to be under, and they've done great things for my duchy. So very good
Yeah,
people.
a weakness and a strength, I'd say. That's
Oh
good.
yeah,
Is there any hot gossip in your nation that I could be made aware of?
the usual, like one person who I will not say the name of, to cause some trouble, I might say. They attempted to charge one of my hard-working citizens $100,000 for 2 stacks of gunpowder, which is outrageous. And they had the gall
Which
to
certainly
say,
is outrageous.
yeah, it is outrageous because as far as I'm aware, market price of a stack of gunpowder is 10,000. It's outrageous, but they tried to frame it as that they were the victim, and it was just
They're
unacceptable.
taking it. They're taking
Yeah.
the hard work of your members. How could they?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's a disgrace, and especially now we're on the road to 1 million. We're something like $50,000 away from hitting, $1 million in the land bank, and every penny counts. You know,
I understand that. What do
especially
you
when you're
think
an
led
island.
them to that? You think they're just
Excuse me.
poor? Or are they trying to
Oh,
pull a fast one on you?
they were complaining about needing money for their own ventures, and I tried to offer them a loan with some collateral, obviously, but they wanted to quote unquote make the money themselves, but to each their own.
That can be a little bit annoying, I'd say.
Oh yeah.
But with that 1 million on the way, do you have any schemes?
Well, we first of all plan to construct many more buildings, many more roads in the duchy, many more apartments for our citizens, and that is a key part of what we're doing with our system called the point system. The point system allows us to reward workers without taking away from the national funds that we are growing over time. But we've mainly got plans to expand and enlarging the powers of the assembly of the duchy, known as the Heratus, which all free citizens and above can vote in freely on issues such as legislation, funding, appointments of civil offices. So we take into consideration what our people need, and this money will be a key part of it.
Yeah, I do. You seem to be a very shrewd ruler. I admire that.
I wouldn't describe myself as shrewd. I know what my community wants.
Yeah, shrewd in the sense that you won't take yourself for granted.
Yeah. I value my community's opinion, and as the old saying goes, what's good for the gander is good for the goose. So it's good for me helping out my community. So anything for their growth, and I will work hard fishing and selling things, and even my community. Like the other day, one of my citizens, he gave up 2 sets of his armor, 2 swords, 2 stacks of TNT, and a god rod, all for the fact that all just to get our duchy to 1 million, so we can invest it in the community. So it really shows that
tight-knit
help build a community. Yeah, we've got a tight-knit community of people who are friendly and who are willing to sacrifice for the greater good. So we all share this similar mindset.
Those are some great qualities. But with your aspiring goals, are there any other nations that would happen to be going against you? Any enemies?
Well, a few weeks ago, there was an incident that's since been resolved where individuals came to our events, threatening violence. And, we talked with them. We told them about what we want out of things. And they backed off. And thankfully, we've had no problems with any of these groups again. Just mercenaries or raiders or squatters or whatever. And we've had no problem dealing with them because of a dear friend of mine who's now stepped down as Duke. I've only recently become the tiraikon of the duchy. He, talked with them and made them see that they shouldn't mess with, us and ejznrosa. We're just peaceful, loving people. We're very blessed.
Do you happen to know any battles you've been a part of? Any notable ones?
Oh no, I'm more of a a scholar than a warrior, But a dear friend of mine, a member of the Bakers Dozen, actually the prophet of Hastina herself, he took part in the recent battle against goblins in I forget where it was, but it was somewhere, and it was a very costly battle. But he fought in it, and he fought hard, and many of our other PvPers have done similar things, fighting enemies of us when we couldn't get an easy solution to things. But I've luckily never been in any battles, but our community sure has.
Well, then you have a very good community.
Oh yeah, very committed.
Have you had any run-in with the bandit groups?
Well, like I said before, there were some people who actually a different case other than raiding our events. There was one man, he came to us one day when I was, looking for people to join us. And he came with us with, threats of if we didn't join him, he'd make us regret it. And it was very empty promises, in all honesty. It was laughable. Yeah, he had a big mouth for what he had, And we, a day later, he sent me a warning being like, there's mercenaries going around that are, raiding people, forcing them to join them or whatever. And not even a minute later, what did we get but a raid on our doorstep? And obviously we put them down, our PvPer who's since gone. He whipped them all 5 of them, and one of them had netherite armor, and he had just diamond, and he
Wow.
killed them all in a few minutes. And we went to their bosses and we got things sorted, and they never bothered us again. And they actually went after your man, who supposedly warned us. The pen and the sword work both ways in our community.
I had a run-in with some bandits similar to that story.
No.
They happened to enter my land and kill me.
Oh, that's
I
horrible.
actually got some help when I was talking to some knights about that. We hunt them down and we actually killed them.
That's brilliant. It's always good to get always good to show that you're not afraid to fight back.
The interesting thing about that was I only had 2 other deals with those knights. Their leader paid me $5,000 for 200 stacks of cookies.
That's insane. I might
It
say.
was. It wasn't actually that difficult to get a hold of. It only took me like 2 days.
No, that's good.
Had a good setup. But yeah, hearing that story of an admirable warrior on your side just reminded me of that.
Oh, he was a good man.
Is there anything else you'd want to note about any other fights, or is that sum up?
Nothing, major. We've had a few run-ins with things beyond the border of the world, but other than that, just the usual community issues and squabbles over who can ride goats and things like that.
I see.
So,
Well, then I'll move the topic over to something a little bit more lighthearted and casual. What do you usually wear?
Oh, well, just whatever you see, just the suit and the pickle. On my head, it's the tiraikon. It's a key part of it's the traditional headwear of the kiasarica people, my nation's people. And, you have to wear it to enter temples, like of Newam, the state religion. I already said about Baker's Dozen, but we have Newam, which is the state. I wouldn't say it's religion, I'd say more ideology. It's a view that all religions that believe in creation in some form are real. They are correct, and that their gods are the faithful of the primordial creators of all reality. And the pickle shows our devotion, as it comes from centuries of tradition. So
was that religion inspired in some way, or what was the founding of that religion?
Oh, it comes from Rathnir, where there was a religion called Lunaism, and the old world. There was a religion called Lunaism, and it was many gods, and it was led by the goddess Luna, and she was fighting in an eternal war against evil, and she used her power to create magic to kill the forces of evil. But as it was unforeseen, it backfired and killed all the forces in heaven, and their power was left in something that's called the tar. And the tar was, it was the life force of the world, and it began to be eaten away, by people using magic and such things, and the world began to get dim and weak, and all these things, and chaos spread, and the Church of Lunaism fell apart, as it would, no one to worship. And in their place was a group of former monks and bureaucrats and learned scholars, and they formed the Magiocratorum, and they wrote books, and they chronologued all of history as best as they could, and they preserved it, and they found a way to harness the remainder of the tar, to use it up to create the new world of Baxilus. And two individuals who had become the autocratiers, the primordial gods of Baxilus, created the world and destroyed the old world. And then the autocratiers, they remembered things, and they created things that were similar, like, say for instance, Nimuadal or Bardonia, or individuals that were similar, and things that were inspired, and so forth, and to help them govern their creation, and things like that, heavenly bureaucrats and all that. They created the Nay, who are interpreted by religions like, say for instance, the Baker's Dozen, as gods. and they all govern a certain area of creation and things like that. So,
You have a rich history, I must say.
that doesn't even scratch the surface of it. It is.
I can tell.
We are
There's many
really in
stories.
depth about our history and our religion and our culture, and we value these things.
Do you have any favorite local cuisine in your nation?
Not particularly. We have our normal things like broils and pastries, but nothing outstanding.
What do you eat the most then?
Oh, mainly potatoes. They're a common crop. They're easy to grow. They're
Right.
numerous. They're hearty. They're good. You can't go wrong with them. I'd say most people up and down the world of Abaxis would agree.
I have to say, if I had to choose, it'd be pumpkin pie for me.
That's fair. A rich taste.
In real life and in a backslide.
That's fair.
That will be it, unless you have anything else left to say.
Well, on the topic of our culture, just one last note. We have a sport. Yeah, we have a sport, and it's known as cane beating. And I think it's something that I am very proud of in our history. It's a sport where you get a bamboo cane and a shield, or without a shield, it depends. And you get drunk or you stay sober, and you beat each other to death with canes, with bamboo canes.
That is
And
incredible.
yeah, and you do it in a pit, and that's about it. And the winner wins. That's
Do you
the
have any
prize.
other sports?
We'll have one where it's yet to be played fully, in an arena. It's where two teams of like four, roughly. They're both in pillars going up to the sky, and their goal is to use a fishing rod to hook a boat onto the platforms and then to hook it up to the top. And you can hook your teammates up, and you can try and hook your enemies off, to slow them down.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's a very good game. It's called Fishing Boats. So,
Very excited for things to come, things that are
oh
happening,
yeah.
good food, good stories to tell. Is there any last words you'd like to say before the show is over?
Well, I'd like to say, Nevan Mora, and thank you for having me.
And the last note, name your title and nation. Oh,
I am the tiraikon and the tiraia of the tiraia kiasarica within the Rick of ejznrosa. So, and I am Aokperson, my character, and obviously I am Aokperson.
Well, I have to say, this was a
Sure.
lovely interview. It was lovely talking.
Oh
to you.
yes.
And
I
that'll be
concur.
it for the Khazoinksvo show. Have a nice day!